Thank you again for joining us for our video series. We're showcasing local faith-based entrepreneurs and investors. Today we have Kyle Sullivan. Thank you so much for being here.
And I'm excited to be here. It's awesome.
Yeah, so who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, man. So Kyle Sullivan, first and foremost, I'm a husband and a father. My wife, Ginger, and I, we've been married almost 10 years. It'll be 10 years in June. And we have two amazing kiddos, Piper, who is 3, and Bo is 18 months old. So that's my life. What I do professionally is I'm a public speaker, and then I do coaching and consulting on the back end of that.
How did you get into that coaching space? That's kind of wild. Not a lot of people think, hey, I want to be a coach when I grow up.
Yeah, I didn't. So I was a pastor for 12 years total, 10 years full time. And the coaching bug, if you will, I mean, I played sports all my life. Grew up and played football and baseball, powerlifting. I was a cheerleader in college. Little left turn. And all of it I had coaches in my life, people that believed in me more than I believed in myself. And through a series of events I'm sure we'll get into, it made it seem, okay, I can do this for people, and made a transition out of vocational ministry in July of 2020. So like in the peak of the pandemic. And so been doing this for 2.5 years now, and it's been awesome.
Yeah. So what is the style of coaching that you actually do?
Yeah, I love that. So best testimonial to date I got was I'm like a teddy bear with a stick of dynamite in the middle of it. If you think about if you played sports growing up, if you had that teacher, that professor, that coach of a team that would pull you in, give you what you need, but then also encourage, and that's me. I'll grab your face mask, I'll get in there, and we'll get action done. But at the end of the day, man, I'm going to cheer you along. I'm running down the sidelines with you.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So who's an ideal person that works alongside of you? Has everybody been a little bit different, or?
Yeah, so I think the journey of 2.5 years, who I'm working with now, nobody like I was working with in the beginning. Currently, I'm working primarily, 70% of my clientele are in the real estate industry. And so realtors, agents, brokers, LOs, investors, because they're commission-based. And that's really my sweet spot, is being able to understand, be able to coach people that in the midst of their success, folks that always have to be on or feel like they always have to be on, keeping their sanity in the midst of their success is really important. And what I did in ministry lends itself really well to that type of person.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. The connection between business, between brand and business coaching versus maybe lifestyle coaching and then spiritual coaching. How has your past kind of influenced holistically how you coach now?
It's everything. So Unleash the Champ is my business, and CHAMP is an acronym. So it stands for your calling, heart, altitude, mindset, and performance. And so it is that holistic person. So we're focusing on personal with your body, how are you taking care of yourself, relationships, your emotional health, and your professional. There's a lot of business coaches come in, they're going to give you the KPIs, they're going to give you the one thing, all professional. Well, that's important, but if you gain all what you want professionally and your personal life's a wreck, you've missed it. And so my experience as a pastor lends itself really well to be able to go, okay, yeah, the professional stuff take care of itself if you align the things outside of your 9 to 5.
So what are some of the challenges that you faced starting your entrepreneurial journey?
Man, it's you don't truly understand what it's gonna take. I was extremely naive, and I came out the gate and it was like, oh, I got the Midas touch. This is incredible. Like, it's just up and to the right. It was amazing. And then one of my favorite quotes is by Mike Tyson. It says, everybody has a plan until they get hit in the mouth. And one of the things I loved, so you got Mike Tyson, and Andy Stanley says, if you don't know why things are working, when they stop working, you won't know how to get back to it. And so when stuff started not working, and again, I started my business in kind of the peak of the pandemic. And then when this talk of the recession came, people started pulling back, and events were shutting down, and it was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know. Money is like, we're bleeding money. And it's been our faith that has anchored us through it all. I mean, there's been months where we've collected more money than I've ever made in a month, and then less, and then there's been months where there's more month at the end of the money. All of it in this journey is getting okay with being in the darkness. And here's one of the things that I feel God's told me in this last 2.5 years. I was in a time where, I'm sitting there, I'm doing my quiet time in the morning, as I talked about, I did, and I was just pissed. Like, sometimes we just be pissed at God. And I'm like, I don't understand. I don't hear you like I used to. I'm thinking, like, did I make a mistake in this? I don't know where to go. I don't know where to turn. Like, speak. And I wrote down in my journal what I felt God told me in that moment, is that the teacher can't speak during the test. The lessons had already been taught. I was asking for a new revelation. I was asking for a new word. And he's like, yo, I already built that into you. You just need to go back to the lessons I've learned, because while you're in the midst of the test, the teacher can't speak. And so there's actually a comfort that comes not for an extended period of time, because I'm like, yo, I will get in the den and wrestle you, Jesus. But in those moments where we don't feel as close to God, it may not be that we're not close to him. It may just be that he can't speak to us because we're in the midst of a test. And so that's been something that has carried me through this last 2.5 years, because it's been the most fun and frustrating but fulfilling thing, because especially in today's age, I think everybody should go into entrepreneurship in some way or fashion that you can generate your own economy. Because if we were at a cap thing with the people aren't getting raises compared to the rate of cost of goods increasing. And though it may be harder to like create another sale or get another deal or get whatever, I have the opportunity to. And so if prices go up of things, I can match that. And so that's been the beautiful part of entrepreneurship and starting a business is like, okay, goods are going up, I just produce more. And you can't do that in a job where you're getting, a 3 to 7% raise each year.
Yeah. So how important is it for you to have success not only in business and the seasons? Tell me a little bit about how things change within people's dynamics and how you are able to either help people through that transition or change with them too.
Yeah, I would argue that if you are lacking outside of professional life, you're lacking in your professional life. A lot of people will, if they feel stress at home or they feel stress in relationships, they're just going to work more. That's sustainable for a little bit. It's ultimately going to come to a head. And so that's why I'm a big proponent of creating that entire playbook to your predictable success. And so it shifts over time. And, people say, oh, I want work-life balance. You've probably heard that, right? You might have said that. I think balance is BS. Because it's about alignment. It's about harmony. There's times, like right now, we're in a sprint, as we like to call. And so my wife and I, we're on the same page. Hey, if I'm not adding value to something, or if it's not reciprocal, like I'm not doing it. And that means some things that are good are no's in this season. And there's more happening where, okay, I need a little more time in work right now. And then, hey, we're going to do this for 12 weeks. We have a big goal we're hitting. And then we're going to shift and have more alignment. Personally, we're going to have a trip. We're going to have whatever. So I think it's important to not strive for balance, because I think about it like this. In those, scales, if you see a scale in complete balance, it's not moving. And so when people say, oh, I want balance, I haven't seen anybody do balance well. But if you can give yourself permission to say, hey, sometimes work's going to take more, and I know that. Sometimes family's going to take more, and I know that. And it's an ebb and flow instead of going, oh my God, I need balance, because that's not really effective.
Yeah. Let's talk about you for a little bit. What are some of the mindset shifts that you had to go through personally to then be able to help people?
One is that me wanting like massive success is okay. I think one of the things that I won't blame it on the church, Christians do a bad job at is saying that it's okay to want massive success. Because when you get, be humble, be meek, be, lowly. I don't know that God calls us to do that. I think because what furthers God's mission? Successful people. Church needs tithe. Church needs donations. A building fund needs to happen. So you need to have successful people in order to impact and further the kingdom. And so I think that was a big thing is going, no, I want to have impact. I want to have influence. Income is the vehicle that does that. And my wife and I, we have a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal to get to a place where we're tithing to our church what the church used to pay me. We just, like, that excites us like no other. And because when we get there, it's like, man, this is what God has done in us, taking a very scary leap of faith in the middle of the pandemic, like I said, when I started the business. And so that was a big thing. You have the permission to want great things in life. You have the permission to want nice things and to be able to impact more. People are like, oh, the money's the root of all evil. No, the love of money. Money has its place. Money's just a magnifier. And I've had a lot of money now, and I've had not a lot of money. I can do more when I have resources. That's been the biggest thing.
That's awesome. Let's shift a little bit about your story in faith. Tell me a little bit about your upbringing and your story in faith.
Yeah, man, it's a roller coaster. So I didn't grow up in church. I'm from Louisiana, small town. If you've heard of Duck Dynasty, that TV show, that's my hometown. And you can look at me in J's and no beard and see that I wasn't exactly, I didn't exactly fit in. But I loved being a part of that small town. But I didn't grow up in church. I had no context for church. Jesus, nothing. Church world sounds like CEOs, Christmas and Easter onlys. We weren't even that. My parents raised me to have manners, be nice to people, Christian principles, but we just didn't have a context. My dad came back from a men's retreat called Promise Keepers that was really big in the 90s and early 2000s. And he came home from this weekend and sat Mom and I down in chairs in our living room and said, I got saved. And I went, saved from what? I had no clue. And then the next words out of his mouth were, we're going to start going to church. And as an 8th grader, I went, when is that? I had no context of church. No, friends from school invited me. No, nothing. He's like, it's on Sundays. And I'm like, I'm not going. Dad, that's when we watch football. Sports was my religion, and I was extremely devoted to it. And as an 8th grader, you can imagine who won that argument. So I started going to church, and that started my faith journey. I hated it. Oh, my God, I hated it. One weekend, I didn't have rules on what I had to wear, say, or do. The next weekend, I had this place that was supposed to be awesome that I had to wear certain clothes. I had to say certain things. I had to do, it was so disorienting for me, and I rebelled all get out. And so middle school and high school, church was just kind of a thing. It wasn't really something that I cared for. My parents said, our house, our rules, you're going to church. The only time I liked church is we always did beach camp, which I think is so funny. It's like, hey, let's send a bunch of high schoolers to the beach and, call it, Jesus time. I like that because I was like, sure, Susie's cute and I like seeing her in a bigini. But that was my context of church. And then kind of in high school, I got really involved in sports as I had been, started getting some success in sports. And my sophomore year, I got moved up to varsity, and we'll speed up the story a bit, but I started partying kind of my sophomore year of high school, stereotypical jock stuff. Play football on Friday night, be drinking, or, Friday into the Saturday mornings. It was just kind of our thing. It wasn't really crazy, kind of controlled, but way underage. And it just intensified. So I graduated high school and go and through a series of events, try to walk on the football team. It doesn't work. I end up on the cheerleading team because I'm strong and I got a bunch of energy. And anyway, it worked out great. And that intensified the partying. moved into the frat house after I joined a fraternity. That intensified the partying. And one step after another led me to where, I mean, I was doing drugs, I was partying. It was like sex, drugs, and hip hop. Not sex, drugs, and rock and roll, but it consumed me. And I loved it. It was like the escape I didn't think I needed. And so, again, intensifies I get to where I'm dealing. I mean, I got people, I say that it's like my first round at entrepreneurship, because I had to handle fulfillment and marketing and branding and team dynamics and research and development. And I mean, it's like you learn a lot. And then everything came to a halt when I got jumped at a drug deal. And so there's a scar here on my pinky and my index finger that was covering up my eyes and my nose as this dude beat the hell out of me, literally. Like the place where I was heading fast. And I had one guy that I respected in the church, and I called him at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I said, I need effing Jesus. I just didn't abbreviate anything. And he said, okay, cool, come over. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm driving bloodied, shirts ripped, gash in the back of my head, my eyes already swollen, lips busted. I walk up to his front porch, he's already standing out there. He said, rough night? Yeah. And he led me to Christ on his front porch, in between me taking drags of a cigarette. And I woke up the next day and I went, so what do I do now? And that started my faith journey for myself at 21, almost 22 years old. And I started going to church for myself. And again, it was hard. Small town. I thought I was slick. I was not. And much like when Saul became Paul, and much like when Saul became Paul and he went to go preach, they were like, whoa, hold up, you were just trying to kill us. It was the same kind of deal. And if I didn't have a real encounter with Jesus, I don't know that I would have stayed going to church. But Christ sustained me through it. About a year later, I went back to school in Arkansas. And I went in to be a pastor. I went to a different university. It was great for me. Graduated, and I moved here in 2012 after getting a Christian studies degree, and ended up working for churches for 10 years until I started my business.
So tell me about the transition between being a pastor and now starting your own company. You're an entrepreneur. You're also helping people. And there's just a lot of different things going on.
I would argue that I feel more like a pastor now than when I was in the four walls of the church vocationally. And I say that because no one expects me to talk about my faith now. And it's been, you mentioned earlier, like, what lessons did I learn? I've learned how to follow Jesus when I'm not paid to. It's real easy when okay, I have a standard I have to live by. We sign off on it. I'm not going to do these things. I'm not going to do this. I am going to do this. I am going to do this. And then you kind of get into the real world and you're like, I can do anything. Like, no one's holding me to the standard. And so now, like, my faith is so integrated to who I am that I'm not overtly like, I'm a Christian business coach. But, like, if you know my story, you're going to get Jesus. It's going to happen. It's just not going to be in your face. And I like that because when I was in ministry, one of the biggest compliments that people would give me was, you seem so normal. And I'm like, yeah, because I was a person before I was a Christian. And I have a story. And I feel like I get to use my story now of like, hey, what do you think a drug dealer, D1 athlete, pastor, entrepreneur, father, husband all have in common? That's all parts of my life. And so all of those things, like it says in the Bible, God works all things together for those who love him and are called according to his purpose. And so being able to integrate all these things, it just is. It's not, hey, my faith is over here, my business is here, my family's here, my fitness is here, my finance. It's all integrated. And now No one expects me to talk about Jesus. So when it does, it's awesome. I don't only have Christian friends now, because in the church world, you get insulated because you're constantly doing work. You're constantly prepping for a weekend, or you're prepping for an event, or you're prepping for this. And the people you interact with 98% of the time are all Christians. People who work at a staff, it's really hard to like go and make disciples. It's like, come here and we'll disciple you. And so now, like, I'm interacting with all kinds of people that have different faiths and different, like, they different depths of their faith, or people who have no faith at all. People have different expressions of their life. And it's like, that's what being a Christian in the world is. It's not like, hey, come to our church and we'll disciple you, we'll fix you, we'll save you. It's like, no, I'm just going to interact. And that's what is really beautiful now.
Yeah. So you're kind of touching alongside of this, but what are some of the practical ways that you integrate your faith in your business?
Man, it's everything. It is, because I'm a Christian, my faith is integrated. I don't think, okay, how do I infuse Jesus into this? My understanding and what I believe to be true is when I said yes to Jesus, he's here. He's here. Two or more gathered. 1, 2, we got it. And so for me, it's going, okay, my routines are like, I have my quiet time. I have my prayer time. I have my time where I read over the vision I feel like God's given. In my coaching sessions, like on the emotional phase of our playbook and what we focus on, is like, hey, how are you growing spiritually? And people are on different journeys. And so for me, it's going, okay, I have my quiet time. I have my prayer time. My family and I, we go to church. We make it a priority. I have to put my faith in God every day. Like, I was just talking with somebody earlier today on the phone, and I was like, man, there's no way I'd still be on this journey if it wasn't that I'd seen God move before, that I know the challenges, the struggles, the growth we're having, the systems we have to put in place. Like, if I didn't see God move before, I'd be like, F this. I'm going to go back and get a job. I'm going to go get a salary. That's easy. I like the financial affirmation every 2 weeks. But I've seen God move before, so I know he'll continue to move. And our faith anchors us to go and do what we feel we're called to do in business.
What are some of the ways that you help people find their why?
Ask them what they want. Most people can't answer that question. What do you truly want? Like, if no cap was put on, if money was, it's all the cliched things, but if you really get people to dive into it and go, okay, where would you go? What would you drive? Who would you impact? What would you start? What would you stop? Like, if you could have true freedom, what would that be? And it takes a lot of peeling back the preconceived notions of what we've grown up to, like, be told what we should want, be told what we should think. I love my daughter for a multitude of reasons, but I see the childlike faith that she has. She has no qualms asking for exactly what she wants and believing that me as her father can deliver time in and time out. I mean, she woke up this morning, said, Daddy, I want a brownie and ice cream. It was my wife's father, my father-in-law, her grandfather's birthday, so we had cake and ice cream. Well, she thought, I'm going to have that again. And she had no qualms about asking for it. And I think that's where, it's like, hey, how do you define your why? You start asking God for things that truly you want. Ask for the impact you want. Ask for the influence you want. Ask for the income you want. Ask for where you want to go, what you want to experience. Because it's all set out before us. It says in Ephesians that you, me, we're a masterpiece, created in Christ Jesus to do good works for which he's prepared in advance for us to do. So why not just go, hey, Jesus, you're here, I'm here, let's collaborate. This is a partnership. You're the investor, I'm the person, I'm the vehicle that you're moving through. Cool, let's do this thing. And it doesn't mean I don't want people to hear this and go, well, he's a prosperity gospel kind of guy. Because I'm not. But I do, or say, however, God is a God that if we're in alignment, why wouldn't we ask for things and believe that it's possible? Now, do I give my daughter everything she asked for? Absolutely not. She did not have brownies and ice cream this morning for breakfast. But could I have? Sure. Did it stop her from asking? Not at all. And so I think that's important for helping people discover their why is go, what do you want? And then a second question is, who do you want to become? What do you want? Who do you want to become? And then how does that person act in that situation? So you think about what is the most aligned person that you could be. I mean, you think about your health, you think about your wealth, you think about your family, you think about everything. And you create this vision, right? The Bible says where there is no vision, the people perish. So what is that vision of who you want to be? The most aligned, electric, like you'd be over the moon to be that person every day. Okay, how does that person act? How does that person inspire people? How does that person give? How does that person impact? And then you go and be like that person. But first you got to define those things. What do you want and who do you want to become?
That's awesome. What are some local charities or initiatives that you like giving back to?
One that I love being a part of and serving and getting awareness out is the Demand Project. Have you heard of them locally? Mm-hmm. So they're incredible as far as their mission. I mean, to eradicate human trafficking, like it boils something in me, especially because the founders, when they heard about it, it sparked them to start the organization was because a 2-year-old little girl, they heard about her being trafficked. And at the time I heard about a year ago, my daughter was 2. And I was like, I will go to jail. Like, get the bail money ready. If they get, like, it's such a sickening thing. And so that's an organization that I've really, the need is great. I had no clue it was in our backyard. I thought, like, this stuff happens overseas. No, this stuff happens in Tulsa. And so that's an organization that I'm really passionate about promoting and giving where I can.
How do people reach out to you?
Yeah, unleashthechamp.com. It's the easiest way. I'm active on all social media. It's, you can Google Unleash the Champ, Kyle J. Sullivan. I pop up. There's a contact form right there on the website. Emails kyle@kylejsullivan.com. I love just hearing from people. And so if it's not me, my team tells me, like, hey, this is a local person you need to connect, or this is needed. So you'll get an answer really quick.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you.